Actually, Ms. Brosseau, you're out of time. Ms. Solido for 6 minutes.
As you know, my riding is Stevenson, East Richmond, just south of Vancouver, and we deal with the agricultural issues in all of the Lower Mainland. And just like yourself, I'm a big advocate of creating a strong, robust agricultural sector in BC. Also, as you recall, you came out to the Hogler Farm, and you did a tour of a 200-acre farm in the middle of Richmond. We had about 200 farmers over for the whole area, and they were intrigued not only on the rides that we did and the tour, but your conversations with them. And you talked to them about how we can build a strong agricultural sector in BC. And you mentioned earlier on that you had conversations with your provincial counterpart on the framework policy. Can you talk a little bit, I know you discussed with Mr. Longfield overall, but can you talk a little bit about how things are progressing as it relates to BC?
Thank you very much, Mr. Peschisolido. I can talk to you about how it's progressing, but as I said before, there's a lot of different provincial ministers that are involved with, and I cannot state just, you know, what the framework is that we're working on. But there's no actual announcement yet, and what we're sitting down and what we have done is tried to make sure, like what I saw when I was out in your riding, that is the kind of thing that brings in a lot of dollars. Very successful small operations that produce fresh food for communities. That kind of thing is more than excellent. That and many, many other things is what we're trying to make sure we put together. There are... And the business risk management part is very important, in my opinion, and I think the ministers agree that it is too, and hopefully we can deal with that in an appropriate manner. But it's also important to note, and I just want to emphasize for sure for the committee and anybody that's listening, that there's a lot more dollars beyond the national policy framework. And it's important that farmers are innovative. I farmed all my life. You have to make it work. If there's anybody that can make it work, it's a farmer, because you have to be a lot of different things. A bit of a mechanic, a bit of a welder, you have a bit of a veterinarian. You have to make it work. And these dollars are there to make sure that the agricultural sector is more innovative, more clean technology. All this stuff is so important. And then there's the superclusters in order to make sure that we're able to capture the opportunities that are worldwide. When you look, and I had the privilege of being in Vietnam and India and China, the demand for food is immense and growing. The growth is by about 7% in these countries per year. They want the good food that you had for breakfast today. And it's our job to produce it. And that's what the policy framework is put together to help do that, but also the last budget is put together to help do that. So it's important that farmers realize that both are there in order to make sure that we work together. And it's not just through the department, my department. It's all of government program. So hopefully, and I'm about sure that the agricultural sector will do very well on this.
Minister, you mentioned India, Vietnam, China. As you recall on your visit, there's a lot of Canadian farmers of Chinese, South Asian, and Vietnamese background that were there that day. And we discussed how to export to Asia, and that's very important for all of Canada, but in particular for BC. I'd like to thank you for kind of guiding or putting emphasis on creating federal slaughterhouses so we can start sending our beef and other products over to Asia. Can you elaborate a little bit more on your conversations with the officials in China and Vietnam and India so that our farmers in BC, but all across the country, can prepare themselves for having a new market available to us?
Thank you very much, and it's just one example, the pulses. 90% of the pulses we produce in this country are exported to the Asian market. And they're growing now, I think, right across the country. That's just one fine example. there's no question about beef and pork and many other products that they want. We had shellfish. There's no end to it. We have also with canola established with China a deal to 2020, which is vitally important. And I understand now, it's always hard to work these deals out, but my understanding is we export more canola now than we ever did. So it's interesting, and also vitally important to the agricultural sector. Really, it's the whole of agriculture that has the opportunity, basically. There might be some things that we produce that they don't use in a certain area, but mostly what we produce in agriculture, there's an opening for it somewhere in the world.
You mentioned earlier on
15 seconds.
The crop logistics working group. Can you elaborate on why it's been reinstated and some of the benefits to that?
Well, and you're talking about what we have to do is make sure that the farmers understand exactly what's going on, and I'm able to sit down with the farmers and hear firsthand from them. We also need to know in the grain industry how the shipments are going and what's available. This is what this is all about, to make sure that farmers are fully, and we are too as a government, and you as a committee are fully aware of what the problems are and what basically what direction we need to go in.
Thank you, Mr. Minister.